What's happening in the world coming up on NTD News? First, our top stories. Former President Trump as temporary Speaker of the House. Trump previously said he doesn't want to be Speaker. Find out what he's saying now. The Heritage Foundation is suggesting heavy charges against the congressman who pulled a fire alarm, the same charges that were brought against January 6th defendants. The strength of the U.S. labor market soared above expectations. The economy added 336,000 jobs in September. We talked to a labor economist. An over 800% increase in Chinese nationals illegally crossing the U.S. border. That figure went past 18,000 this year. Lawmakers are calling for action. An important Holocaust anniversary. 7,000 Jews fled Denmark by night to escape the Nazis. Hear one man recount how he escaped at 12 years old. Welcome to NTD News Today. I'm Chris Beers. Our top news: former President Trump's legal team is looking to halt the New York civil fraud trial. Trump isn't in court today as the trial enters the fifth day. His team is planning to appeal the judge's ruling that Trump is liable, and they want the trial to pause until then. Prosecutors objected, saying they need more than 24 hours notice. The judge also said it wasn't enough time and that the appeals court might deny the request. Judge Engoron ruled that Trump was liable for fraud last week. The case could cost Trump control over some of his properties, like Trump Tower. So far, the judge has ordered an outline of the plan to dissolve Trump's companies and will decide other penalties next. New York Attorney General Letitia James is also seeking $250 million in damages and a ban on Trump doing business in New York. Trump's lawyers also withdrew a lawsuit against Judge Engoron and AG James. Trump had sued to either limit the case or delay the trial. An update on Trump election case. Several news organizations have asked a judge if they can record and broadcast the trial set for March 2024. They argue it's crucial to ensure people have confidence in the justice system and to counter false theories. Currently, there's a federal rule that bans cameras in courtrooms during criminal trials, but these organizations say it violates the First Amendment. And the former president has now endorsed Congressman Jim Jordan for the next Speaker of the House. It comes after Trump reportedly said he would consider temporarily filling the role. Here are Jordan's thoughts on Trump as the next Speaker.
I think President Trump wants to be president of the United States. That's what I want. I think he's the best president we've had, certainly in my lifetime. Did more what he said he would do than any president I can remember. I want him to be president of the United States. I think that's what he wants to do, and I think that's what's going to happen.
Trump says lawmakers asked him to temporarily take on the role if neither candidate gets enough votes. It's not clear who asked him. However, multiple lawmakers openly supported the idea of Trump as Speaker of the House. The first procedural vote to elect a new Speaker will take place on Tuesday. Now that Representative Jordan has secured Trump's endorsement, how will this impact Jordan's chances of becoming Speaker? We speak with a former President Trump Advisory Board member. Jason Meister, thank you for joining us. Donald Trump just endorsed Jim Jordan for House Speaker. How could that impact Jordan's candidacy?
Yeah, look, I think Jim Jordan would be an excellent Speaker of the House. I think that what Matt Gaetz accomplished over the last couple of days, it's proving that he is a leader of historic consequence at a time in U.S. history that requires leaders to have the courage to rise to the occasion.
And what would the House look like under Jordan, do you think?
Look, I think what you need to understand and your viewers need to understand is where we are as a country. President Trump is right now being politically persecuted in multiple states by the Biden regime. The FBI has been weaponized and is targeting Trump supporters as domestic terrorists. You had Hillary Clinton on CNN last night saying that Trump supporters need to be deprogrammed and sent to re-education camps. So I think a Jim Jordan speakership is going to be on the offense, and we're not going to be sending billions of dollars to Ukraine while our vets are sitting on our streets homeless.
And also, Jordan is currently leading several investigations into the Biden administration. How could his work on the Judiciary Committee be impacted if he becomes the speaker?
Yeah, look, if he becomes a speaker, I think that all these investigations go into overdrive, which they need to be. The fact that Joe Biden, with the mountains of evidence of the bribery, extortion, and treason that his family committed while he was vice president, the fact that he hasn't been impeached at least twice already proves that McCarthy was just a passive resistance. We need to be on offense right now. Our country is on the abyss. We need to impeach Joe Biden. We need to stop sending billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine, which is essentially a money laundering scheme. And we need to secure the southern border, which I think a Jim Jordan speakership will do.
Now, under former Speaker Kevin McCarthy, the House was in chaos over big decisions like the debt ceiling bill and now the appropriations bills. How might a potential Jim Jordan speakership affect the ability of the House to get things done?
Look, yeah, we heard a lot of those talking points over the last week or so being debated in the House. And the truth of the matter is, Matt Gaetz was correct. $30 trillion is chaos. Over 8 million illegal immigrants pouring over our southern border since Joe Biden took office is chaos. The fact that we have a compromised president that basically made his son into a bagman to collect and split with him the millions of dollars of graft that they took from around the world for doling out political favors is chaos. So I think a Jim Jordan speakership, someone who puts America first, isn't going to send billions of dollars to Ukraine, is going to investigate the Biden crime family. That, to me, is what we need in this country to survive. Because like I said earlier, we are on the abyss.
Now, it seems like you think that Matt Gaetz' decision reflects well on him, but how would it reflect on how would other Republicans feel about it in retrospect if Jordan becomes a speaker?
Yeah, that was something else that I think came out over the last week in the House, is that we have a large chunk of the Republican Party that caters to the lobbyists and the consultants in Washington, D.C., and not cater to the constituents at their hometowns and districts. I think that a Jim Jordan speakership is going to show, if we take it to a vote, who needs to be primaried. Because these people that we elect, these are our elected officials. They serve us. And if the majority of the Republican base in this country felt that McCarthy wasn't doing the job and he was just passive resistance and that we need to be on offense, I think we then realize which House members, congressmen and congresswomen that we need to primary going forward.
All right, Republican strategist Jason Meister, thank you. Speaking of the 2024 race, there's a new independent presidential candidate. Former Harvard University professor and progressive activist Cornel West is switching from the Green Party.
We're at such a low level in the history of the country with the spiritual decay and moral decadence, political paralysis, the corporate greed, suppressions, so many ways of UAW workers and now healthcare workers. We have to raise our voices in a serious way. And I'm thoroughly convinced that both parties are beyond redemption.
He adds that he ran across certain impediments in the Green Party and says it's easier to get on the ballot as an independent. He says he'll be in at least 35 to 40 states. His platform includes raising the minimum wage and canceling all oil drilling and pipeline projects. He also proposes to cancel all student loan debt, make state and community colleges free, and codify race as an admissions criterion. His foreign policy includes disbanding NATO, ending aid to Ukraine, and slashing the military budget. This is the second time West has switched parties since he announced his campaign in June. If he gains enough support, some speculate he could act as an election spoiler for Democrats. A federal court has given the green light to a new map of congressional districts in Alabama just in time for the 2024 congressional elections. This decision is expected to benefit the Democratic Party in a state that traditionally leans heavily Republican. The court's ruling comes after it found that the old district lines may have violated the Federal Voting Rights Act, this by weakening the voting power of black citizens, who make up almost 27% of Alabama's population. The new map is designed to create one district where most of the population is black and another where nearly half are black. Alabama Republicans are expected to lose one House seat to Democrats under the new map. Republicans say they will contest the map, but completing any legal proceedings in time for next year's elections is unlikely. Turning now to the 2024 presidential campaign staff of GOP candidate Vivek Ramaswamy said protesters rammed their car into a campaign vehicle. The incident took place in the central Iowa city of Grinnell yesterday afternoon. Ramaswamy's campaign said two protesters were upset about his remarks in opposition to aid for Ukraine. They yelled and swore at the candidate before at least one of them jumped into a vehicle, rammed into Ramaswamy's empty campaign car, and sped off. The campaign said that no one was injured and that it had filed a police report, but police say no evidence supports the claim that the crash was intentional. A 22-year-old woman involved in the crash said she was not there protesting anything and had no idea whose vehicle she had hit. Updates regarding the Democratic congressman who pulled a fire alarm earlier this week. The Heritage Foundation is now asking the DOJ to press substantial charges against the representative. The foundation is referring to a statute that has been used to prosecute January 6th defendants. The foundation sent a letter to the DOJ writing, Representative Bowman's actions violated federal law in addition to D.C. criminal law, and that the DOJ used similar legal theories recently to investigate and prosecute individuals across the country. The foundation proposed the federal obstruction statute to be used against the congressman. They also referred to a local D.C. code which could land the congressman in prison for up to 3 years. Bowman admitted that pulling the fire alarm, but disputes doing so to delay the vote. He said he activated the alarm thinking it would open the door, as it wouldn't open. When we come back, is President Biden changing his border policy? A recent move he made makes it seem that way. We speak with a former ICE special agent about what's really going on. And the nurse shortage isn't looking hopeful. Nursing schools are turning away tens of thousands of applicants. What's driving the trend? More in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
First time I came in here was Monday, and today is Thursday. I've had 2 surgeries and am doing fantastic. I'm still in shock that I can walk. That's all within 4 days. In 4th grade, I was diagnosed with scoliosis. I had 70 and 60 degree curvatures. Went to Shriners Hospital in LA. It's been fused ever since. I noticed a lot of pain going down my left buttock into my thighs and into my calf. I could be standing there and my legs would just go out. I went through pain management for 2.5 years, and the pain management specialist told me there was nothing more he could do for me. We actually did our own research, and next thing I know, Dr. Benatti called and he told me immediately over the phone what my issue was without even seeing me. I was in a twilight stage during surgery, and you can actually say, where are you feeling that pain? And it immediately stops.
Hold the leg up there. No pain here?
No.
No pain here?
No.
No pain on the butt?
No. All of a sudden, they're all, do you want to get up and walk? Well, I couldn't walk before, and I got up and I just started crying because I had no pain. And I had all my weight on my left leg and on my right leg, and I walked a straight line with no assistance, no falling, no grabbing onto the walls, nothing. I held my own weight. And that's the first time in months that I was able to walk by myself.
Benatti succeeds where others fail. For more stories like these and the rest of our program, check out American Medicine Today, featuring cutting-edge medical and science innovators, previous surgical guests of the Benatti Spine Institute, and a medical professional's insight on political issues plaguing our nation. American Medicine Today, Sunday 6 p.m. and Wednesday at 2:30 on NTD Television and other streaming platforms.
Organize your freezer. Now keep your freezer fresh and long-lasting. Smart Freezer Container. Thanks, Soyun. The magic of the freezer. Make efficient use of freezer space. Keep the freezer cleaner and more tidy. Easy to store modular system. Resistant from minus 22 degrees to 212 degrees. For family safety, BPA-free and LDPE material. Different sizes for different applications, depending on the size and use. Use it smartly. Efficient space utilization for cold air circulation. Neatly organized with minimal empty space. Partitions and trays for more efficient storage. Smart Freezer Container.
Welcome back. The strength of the U.S. labor market soared above expectations. The economy added 336,000 jobs in September, almost 2 times more than expected. The unemployment rate remained unchanged at 3.8%. For more, NTD Business's Don Ma talks to a labor market economist.
And here to talk to me about the latest jobs report is Chief Economist at ZipRecruiter, Julia Pollack. Julia, with economic data points, it's never a straight line down or a straight line up. So there's going to be some bumps along the way. We got this number this morning, 336,000 jobs added last month, way above expectations. What should we make of this number? Is the job market heating up again? How should we take it?
Yeah, this report suggests that the job market is reaccelerating, and it's consistent with the Atlanta Fed's GDP Now estimate of third quarter GDP growth at 4.9%, about twice the usual long-run average. So there is plenty of evidence to suggest that economic activity is still chugging and that the economy is still generating jobs quickly.
So what about when before we talked about perhaps the labor market could potentially be cooling? How does that fit into this jobs report number?
Well, there's a little sign of a cooling labor market here, although the unemployment rate did hold steady at around 3.8%. So it does suggest that the labor market is no longer at a point of record low 3.4% unemployment. It's not overheating. And the wage growth number was fairly cool. Over the past 3 months, wage growth has taken place at only a 3.4% average rate, annualized rate. And so workers are receiving real wage increases, but wage growth is cooling. And that suggests that the Fed can have its cake and eat it. It is bringing inflation down meaningfully without seeing painful job losses. Instead, the economy is still growing, and we're seeing the whole labor market move towards a more sustainable place.
Do you expect the unemployment rate, which of course remained flat last month, do you expect this to tick up a little bit because the Federal Reserve is looking for a softer labor market?
Well, the Congressional Budget Office and the Federal Reserve both anticipate that the unemployment rate will tick up over the next few months. But it's not clear. Their estimates have been too pessimistic over the past year, and perhaps we'll see unemployment hold steady below 4%, as it has done for almost 2 years now.
And of course, I want to talk about the strikes, right? Has there been an impact of the strikes on the labor market from what we've seen?
Yes, certainly. So in the jobs reports recently, a large number of people, historically unusually large number of people, have been employed but out of work due to labor stoppages. And that was even before the UAW strike began. So that strike is not reflected in this report.
Do you think we can have a soft landing?
This report very much suggests that we're on a path towards a soft landing. But there's tremendous uncertainty. There are economists like Steve Hanke who are predicting a very severe recession based on how quickly borrowing costs have gone up and how quickly the money supply has shrunk. There are others who point to these huge estimates of current rates of economic activity and GDP growth, and who think we're in a boom time. Anytime there's that degree of uncertainty, it actually is a tax on business, and it causes many businesses to conserve capital, to take a wait-and-see approach. So many employers we work with have great ambitions and great growth plans, but they're taking it easy right now. They're slow pedaling those plans.
Well, all right. Thank you so much again, Julia Pollack, Chief Economist, ZipRecruiter.
One profession that needs more workers, nursing. Thousands of nurses are on strike to protest staffing shortages, but many nursing schools aren't able to accept hundreds of new students. The reason? Not only is there a shortage of nurses in clinical settings, there's also a problem with having enough nursing professors to teach them. According to the American Association of Colleges of Nurses, more than 78,000 qualified applicants were turned away last year. Even in schools that have enough nursing faculty members, there are often not enough clinical placements for existing students. In hospitals, those who train new nurses have strict limits on how many students they can supervise at a time. Aggravating the existing shortage, many nurses were burned out during the pandemic and left the profession entirely. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services is pumping more than $26 million into an effort to train more nursing faculty to help address the problem. Georgians won't have to pay gas tax until next month. Governor Brian Kemp has signed an executive order extending the state's gas tax suspension. The governor declared a state of emergency last month and suspended the state's tax on gas due to rising costs of inflation. The suspension was scheduled to end next week, but it will now remain in effect until November 11th. Motorists in the Peach State are now saving 31 cents per gallon on gasoline and 35 cents per gallon on diesel fuel. According to AAA, the average cost of a gallon of regular gas in Georgia is $13.18. That is more than 55 cents less than the national average. However, economists say there is a positive trend for consumers nationally, and we could be seeing averages drop to $3.25 by Halloween. Is President Biden picking up where Trump left off on the border wall? Not exactly. He's building an additional 20 miles of border wall, but he says the reason is because funds were appropriated for that purpose. We speak with a retired special agent for ICE, Victor Avila, about the seeming policy switch-up. Victor Avila, thank you for your time. President Biden said he would not build another foot of wall at the southern border, but now he's building 20 miles of wall. What do you think has triggered this change of policy?
I definitely think this is political. It's an election year, and they have to try to tell the American people that it looks like they're trying to do something about this border security chaos that they created. He doesn't agree with the wall. He doesn't want it to be built, but he said that he's being forced by the appropriations to build the wall. It makes absolutely no sense what's going on. Nevertheless, I'll tell you what, the 20 miles down in the Rio Grande Valley that's being built is way overdue, but we need a lot more wall in very different parts of the border as well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The wall will be built in what's called a high illegal entry zone. But when it's done, what's stopping migrants from crossing at another part of the border, making that the new high illegal entry zone?
And that's exactly right. And remember, it's the wall technology that works with the policy attached to it, not the wall itself. And you're absolutely right. They will shift to a different location. I would love to see a barrier in Eagle Pass, Texas right now, where thousands of illegals continue to come through.
And now this week, Mexican President López Obrador said the U.S. will soon see about 10,000 migrants per day coming across the border. That's based on the number of migrants coming across Mexico's southern border. Will this be any different from other influxes of immigrants at our southern border?
I think the president of Mexico is about a week and a half late on that news cycle, because I just stood in Eagle Pass, Texas last week, and I saw thousands. As a matter of fact, on one day there was 11,000 that came in. And we've had an average about 9,000 to 10,000 per day come in through our southern border. But instead of trying to figure out how many are coming in, the president of Mexico should start figuring out and working with the United States government to stop the flow, because most of the individuals coming through Mexico are also illegally present in Mexico.
Now, you mentioned pairing the border wall with some policy changes. What kind of policy changes are you talking about here?
Well, the very first one is to actually allow Border Patrol agents to go back and do their jobs and the scope of their duties that they were trained to do. I witnessed firsthand that they're just not allowed to do that. This was in Eagle Pass, Texas, and El Paso, Texas. in the last week and a half that I've been there. And let me tell you, they are demoralized, these agents, because not only are they not allowed to enforce the law, they're being asked to do things against their will that they don't want to do. And I'm talking about cutting razor wire, allowing the migrants to come in. And so this is very demoralizing for them.
All right, Victor Avila, thank you again for your time.
Thank you for having me.
An urgent call for action. 5 U.S. senators penning a letter to the head of Homeland Security urging him to take immediate action on a rising threat, one they say involves over 18,000 illegal Chinese immigrants that crossed into the U.S. this year. Let's zoom in.
How big is the influx of illegal Chinese migrants through the border? An over 800% spike compared to last year. Over 18,000 Chinese people illegally crossed into the U.S. through the southern border in 2023, compared to a little over 2,000 last year and around 400 in 2021. Lawmakers saying over 90% of the illegal Chinese immigrants in 2023 are single adults. Officials argue they could engage in espionage activities or cyber attacks against critical infrastructure. The road to America through the South is dangerous. Illegal migrants trek through muddy rainforests on foot and cross rushing rivers by boat. Some escaped China over fear of Beijing's authoritarian rule. But for authorities, gauging who truly needs protection can be a touchy subject.
Is the PRC exploiting the crisis at our southern border for their own personal gain?
I think we should assume that any vulnerabilities at our southern border are open for authoritarian influence of many kinds. I think that's a safe assumption. If the gaps are there, then those who are working against us are going to use them to their advantage.
Calls to address the issue are on the rise.
With the threat of terror, fentanyl and other illicit drugs that are coming in, and the human trafficking that's going on, I think it should be called to attention, because is the communist Chinese government exploiting our southern border being open, just like they've done with fentanyl?
Fentanyl has killed more Americans than car accidents and cancer. To put it in perspective, the drug killed over 70,000 Americans in 2021. That's about one person every 8 minutes. The drug flow breaking families in the U.S.
Now, if we had Chinese troops lining up along our southern border with weapons aimed at our people, with weapons of mass destruction aimed at our cities, you damn well know you would do something about it. We had a weather balloon from China going across our country. Nobody died, and everybody's freaking out about it. But 100,000 die every year, and nothing's being done. Not enough is being done. Numbers are going up, not down. And you talk about children being taken away from their parents. My children were taken away from me. 100,000 Americans every year are having their children, 200,000 because it's both parents, right? Are having their children taken away from them.
Last year, U.S. authorities confiscated over 300 million doses of fentanyl, enough to lethally dose the entire U.S. population. Much of the precursors used to make the drug get made in China, with some of them then pressed into pills in Mexico and smuggled into the U.S. through the southern border.
An in-person meeting between President Biden and China's Xi Jinping may be on the horizon. According to the Washington Post, the White House is already making plans for the face-to-face talks as the two countries seek to smooth tensions. The potential meeting would take place at the APEC summit in San Francisco next month, but so far China hasn't confirmed whether Xi will attend. If the talks do happen, it would be the second in-person meeting between the two leaders. They last met in Bali last November at a G20 summit. A Louisiana grand jury declined to indict anyone for causing the deadly Hard Rock Hotel collapse 4 years ago. The New Orleans hotel stood on the edge of the historic French Quarter. It was under construction when it collapsed on October 12, 2019. 3 people were killed and dozens were injured. The Orleans District Attorney's Office began its inquiry 2 years ago and presented the case to a grand jury. But according to a statement from the DA, the jurors deliberated and decided there wasn't enough evidence for criminal charges. The statement went on to state the DA's team was frustrated with the outcome. They also said that Occupational Safety and Health Administration did not cooperate to further their efforts in presenting the case to the grand jury. A nationwide recall alert. The popular sour rolling candies are being recalled due to choking hazards. Candy Dynamics is recalling 70 million units of its 2-ounce to 3-ounce rolling liquid candies. The flavors are blue raz, strawberry, sour apple, and black cherry. They are labeled as toxic waste and slime liquor sour rolling liquid candy, or mega toxic waste and slime liquor sour rolling liquid candy. These candies were sold from June 2015 to July 2023. Also, Cocoa Candy and KGR Distribution have recalled nearly 146,000 units of their Cocoa Candy rolling candy. The flavors include sour strawberry, sour tutti frutti, and sour cola. Those were sold from May 2022 through March 2023. Candy Dynamics will give a full refund for any product that still has candy in it. In April, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission received a report of a 7-year-old girl in New York who choked and died. It happened after the rolling ball unhooked and was stuck in her throat. Up next, an embrace between two Chinese sports stars has vanished from China's internet. What makes this celebratory photo such a sensitive subject for Beijing? And Denmark marks 80 years since thousands of Jews fled their country by night to escape the Nazis. Hear their story when we return with NTD News.
One in 5 children worldwide are faced with the reality of living without food. No family dinners, no special treats, no full bellies. All around the world, parents are struggling to feed their children. Toddlers are suffering from acute malnutrition, which stunts their growth. Kids are forced to drop out of school so they can help support their families. COVID, conflict, inflation, and climate have ignited the worst famine in our lifetime. And we're fed up. Fed up with the fact that hunger robs children of their childhood. Fed up with the lack of progress. Fed up with the injustice. Help us brighten the lives of children all over the world by visiting getfedupnow.org. For as little as $10 a month, you can join Save the Children as we support children and families in desperate need of our help. Now is the time to get fed up and give back. When you join the cause, your $10 monthly donation can help communities in need of life-saving treatments and nutrients. Prevent children from dropping out of school. Support our work with communities and governments to help children go from short-term surviving to long-term thriving. And now, thanks to special government grants, every dollar you give before December 31st can multiply up to 10 times the impact. That means more food, water, medicine, and help for kids around the world. You'll also receive a free tote bag to share your support for children in need. Childhood without food is unimaginable. Get fed up. Call us now or visit getfedupnow.org today.
Do you feel the bills getting higher and higher every time you check out at the supermarket? Do you feel your monthly discretionary money has decreased, although your income increases yearly? Inflation is eating away at your wealth. Digital wallets and central bank digital currencies are destroying financial privatization. Only gold and silver are constitutional forms of money. Our privacy was to be protected against unlawful search and seizure. Midas Gold Group will help you take control of your finances and protect your wealth and your privacy. Pulling money out of the corrupt banking and investment system is a way to privatize your finances as the elite push us towards digital wallets and central bank digital currency. Protect your wealth with real money. Deal with the best. Midas Gold Group, a proud America First company. MidasGoldGroup.com.
Coming up in our next installment of America's Hope, Bobby Kipper, the founder of the National Center for the Prevention of Community Violence, explains why we must actively care for each other to prevent violence. All that and more in our next installment of America's Hope.
Back to the news. Sportsmanship or censorship? A snapshot of a hug between two celebrating athletes in the Asian Games scrubbed from the Chinese internet.
This photo was taken just after Lin Yuwei won gold during the 100-meter hurdles final. She's seen embracing fellow China athlete Wu Yanning. What makes the photo a sensitive one for Beijing? The image shows the two athletes' race numbers next to each other, combining to form 6-4. The digits are a common online reference to the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre, which took place on June 4th. That day, the Chinese regime deployed troops and tanks to gun down crowds of unarmed students. They had gathered to ask for democracy and better access to education. References to it are blocked by Beijing's internet firewall. The race also happened on October 1st, when the Chinese Communist Party celebrates its founding. Internet censors are particularly strict during the National Day holiday and other occasions meant to highlight the party's rule. The image was quickly removed from popular Chinese social media Weibo, as well as search engine Baidu. Google is blocked in China. This year's Asian Games are happening in the Chinese city of Hangzhou and run through this Sunday.
It's an important anniversary for Jews in Denmark. 80 years ago, over 7,000 people evacuated to Sweden during the Holocaust. The effort allowed them to escape deportation to Nazi concentration camps. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on that moment in history.
The director of the Danish Jewish Museum says it's important to remember the Second World War and the Holocaust, especially amid what he believes is rising anti-Semitism.
We are living at a time where there's war, streams of refugees and persecution, and on top of that also a growing anti-Semitism, not only in Europe but also in Denmark. So that's why it's so important to keep this history alive.
Reading from his childhood diary, 92-year-old Ola Philipsen is transported back 80 years, when he and his family were forced to flee Denmark to Sweden. They had to make the journey to avoid being deported to a Nazi concentration camp.
Now, the friends of his who helped us were normal Danish citizens. They were not members of any networks. They were very anti-Nazi. But all this was like improvised.
In October 1943, the Nazis ordered the deportation of all Jews living in occupied Denmark, but a German official tipped off Danish lawmakers, who then warned Jewish leaders.
They called their friends and said, "Hey, we've got to help here. Yes, I will. Come to my house." It was, and as far as I know, an improvised network.
Philipsen became one of over 7,000 Jews to escape to neutral Sweden. Sailing under the cover of darkness, the journey took 2 hours, trying to avoid Nazi patrols.
A Swedish uniformed lady, and she said, "Välkommen till Sverige. Vil du ha et stykke choklad? Welcome to Sweden. Do you want a piece of chocolate?" This to me is the biggest thing in my life.
Philipsen and his family returned to Denmark after the war. He says it's now his duty to share his story. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
And now some short headlines from around Europe. 52 people are now confirmed dead in a village in northeastern Ukraine. That's after a missile slammed into a cafe and grocery store on Thursday. It happened as people gathered to mourn a fallen Ukrainian soldier. Ukraine describes it as one of Moscow's deadliest attacks on civilians. However, the Kremlin today again saying it wasn't behind the attack. Russian officials say they don't strike civilian targets. A 3-day mourning period was announced after the strike. The United Nations on Thursday condemned the attack.
Attacks against civilians and civilian infrastructure are prohibited
under international humanitarian law, and they must stop immediately.
He added that the UN Secretary General extends his condolences to the families of the victims. He also wished a swift recovery to all injured victims. This attack reportedly marks the deadliest in the Kharkiv region since Russia's invasion more than 19 months ago. It also seems to be one of the biggest civilian death tolls in any single strike. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin commented on the death of the Wagner mercenary chief. Putin suggests the plane crash that killed the chief in August was caused by hand grenades inside the aircraft. He says it wasn't caused by a missile strike. He added, it's an established fact that there was no external impact on the plane. At the same time, the Kremlin announced that investigators had not yet produced a final report on the cause of the plane crash. The Wagner coup earlier this year posed the biggest challenge to Putin's rule since he came to power in 1999. In Turkey, fighting with Kurdish militants continues. Turkey announced today that it killed 26 militants in northern Syria. Turkey also reported it conducted airstrikes and destroyed 30 militant targets in northern Syria. Turkey says it's in retaliation for a rocket attack by Kurdish militants on a Turkish base, which killed 1 and injured 7. The fighting marks an escalation in the ongoing conflict between the two factions. And lastly, some lighter news out of Spain. Police announced today that they seized 67 tons of stolen olives. 12 suspects were arrested for their alleged involvement in the theft and sale of stolen olives. Spain is the world's largest producer of olives and olive oil. However, production has been severely affected by heat waves and an ongoing drought. Coming up, a newly restored Roman palace reopens to the public after nearly 50 years. The ancient structure overlooks the Forum and was home to Rome's emperors. And a temple in Tokyo's business district provides a safe haven for busy workers and residents. On Wednesdays, the sanctuary's monk makes free desserts. More shortly here on NTD News Today.
Shenyun Symphony Orchestra, coming to Lincoln Center, David Geffen Hall, October 22nd. Tickets at shenyunsymphony.com.
A friend of mine, she told me about Bonatti. He was the only one to address all 4 discs as quickly as possible. And if you're to that point where you can't take it anymore, like I was, do your research, find out who the best is, and get it done.
Visit AskBonatti.com.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere? You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast and so convenient. It's like the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires on a single charge. It has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system for the factory direct price of just $79.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free, and we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-984-7221. That's 1-800-984-7221, or go to getbullseyepro.com.
Kindness is cool. Because we feel happier when we do good. Kindness connects us with others and improves our self-esteem. Simple actions, meaningful lives. Let's practice kindness, share our love, and show our care for one another. submit videos of kindness to Ganjing World for prizes up to $10,000 in cash. For more information, visit ganjingworld.com.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, and our incredible contestants. Tonight, one lucky winner will be chosen. We encourage you to cheer for them with all your hearts as we set the stage for an unforgettable night. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to be inspired.
Let's give a round of applause to all three winners.
It's time for the evening gown competition, the most glamorous and the dazzling part of the evening.
Now, without further ado, let's reveal our runner-ups.
The winner of Miss NTD 2023 is...
Welcome back. If you're just joining us now, here are some of today's top headlines. Former President Trump has endorsed Congressman Jim Jordan as the next Speaker of the House. It comes after Trump reportedly said he would consider temporarily filling the role. The Heritage Foundation is suggesting heavy charges against the congressman who pulled a fire alarm, the same charges that were brought against January 6th defendants. If convicted, the congressman could face multiple years behind bars. New jobs report released today. The U.S. economy added 336,000 jobs in September. The unemployment rate remained steady at a historically low 3.8%. This year, more than 18,000 Chinese people crossed the U.S. southern border illegally. That's a jump of more than 800% from last year. 5 U.S. senators are calling on the Department of Homeland Security to take action. A newly restored Roman palace is open again after almost 50 years. The nearly 2,000-year-old structure was home to Roman emperors and offers visitors a glimpse into antiquity. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the details.
The imposing facade of the Domus Tiberiana features large arches that overlook the Roman Forum. Closed for almost 50 years, the grandiose imperial palace of the Roman emperors is now open to the public. Built in the 1st century AD, the residence is named after the Roman Emperor Tiberius.
We need to picture the extraordinary facade that overlooked this place, the Temple of the Vestals, and toward the Roman Forum, specifically to amaze the population. And it was a facade decorated with marbles, which can be admired in the rooms set up inside the Hill of Victory, deep inside the Domus Tiberiana.
Italy's Minister of Culture spoke on the eve of the reopening. He said many had missed out on an important part of Rome's history.
With the opening of the Domus Tiberiana, we are adding another element to the richness of the archaeological park of the Colosseum. It has been closed for many years, from the 70s. Unfortunately, entire generations weren't able to see it and appreciate it, so it is an important piece.
A total of 13 rooms have been restored. One was found intact after hundreds of years, providing resourceful information to the restorers.
During the lockdown, we dug out a space that was left untouched for centuries, and then we could put together 13 centuries of history. It was a place that somehow went forgotten. Even Pietro Rosa, who was digging these places during Napoleon III, didn't touch anything.
Restorers studied the marble, furniture, and statues inside. Their goal was to understand how the palace originally looked.
We tried to study the marbles to understand how the palace was decorated. We found traces, especially from the age of Emperor Domitian. We tried to restore how the emperor wanted to show his power to the population. There is a gigantism inside that palace. We just don't realize it.
The Domus is considered to be the first true imperial palace, just the latest tourist attraction in Rome.
A temple in Tokyo, bustling business district, is providing refuge for busy workers and residents. The sanctuary's monk makes free desserts and reads from Buddhist scriptures. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the latest.
Komyoji Temple in Tokyo offers a serene open-air terrace. It's a safe haven for busy office workers and residents nearby.
This temple is located in a business district, and many people are constantly working and struggling to find time to rest. Some of them lose their minds because of that. I thought this temple can make a valuable contribution to both these busy individuals and the local community by providing this space and having them stop by at this temple.
Visitors bring their lunches, work on laptops, or simply hang out. On Wednesdays, the temple's monk, Yukin Kihara, serves homemade desserts free of charge.
At the beginning, we were only offering coffee sold at a store. However, I began to hear visitors requesting items related to temples, such as tea and desserts. Upon hearing these suggestions, we decided to make our own desserts and created a menu based on our visitors' feedback.
During these sessions, Kihara performs a 10-minute sutra reading. He invites visitors to chat while savoring their desserts.
I had wanted to come here for a long time, but I was a bit hesitant as I had to book in advance. This week I'm off from work and didn't have a chance to go on a vacation this summer, so I've decided to come and visit here.
Kihara's desserts are inspired by the seasons. Mochi is wrapped with salted cherry blossom leaves. In the rainy season, he makes hydrangea-inspired sweets. For Kihara, Wednesdays are about more than dessert.
We are constantly pressed for time and often stressed about conveying meaningful messages concisely during daily conversations. In such situations, many people may find it difficult to express their feelings to their loved ones. In this temple, we listen when needed and also respect moments of silence for those who prefer not to talk.
Kihara occasionally holds online sessions for those who can't make it in person. Some people from as far as Australia participate.
You may want to put down that soft drink. A new study published in JAMA says that sweetened drinks are linked to chronic liver disease and even liver cancer. Here's NTD's Gina Marie with Strong Mind and Body.
Do you find yourself drinking a sweetened beverage every day? You might want to be cautious. This habit could increase your risk of chronic liver disease and even liver cancer. It's widely known that drinking sweetened drinks can contribute to obesity and insulin resistance. But a recent study published in JAMA has now linked sweetened drinks to liver disease. The study showed that those who consumed these drinks face an 85% higher likelihood of developing liver cancer than those who don't. They also face a 68% higher risk of mortality from chronic liver disease. Other studies have also corroborated the damaging effects of sweetened drinks on the liver. A European study revealed that individuals who consume more than 6 servings of soft drinks per week face a notably higher risk of liver cancer. That was by 83% compared to those who consume fewer than 1 serving. Another study conducted in the US indicated that drinking soda was associated with an 18% increase in the risk of liver cancer. According to the JAMA study, these are a few of the issues with sweetened drinks. Sweetened drinks may contribute to obesity and spikes in blood sugar, leading to insulin resistance. These are risk factors for liver cancer and liver disease. Sweetened drinks contain significant amounts of fructose, which can lead to the buildup of liver fat. This can potentially trigger the development of liver cancer. And consuming sweetened drinks can lead to abnormal blood lipid levels. This can also have an adverse impact on gut microbiota. This in turn affects liver health. So it looks like having a Coke once in a blue moon might be okay, but it's certainly not something you want to be drinking regularly.
And that's all for today's news. We'll be back on Monday with a new co-host on the show, NTD's Stephanie Cox. Till then, I'm Chris Beers. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Did you know YouTube only keeps selective videos on its platform? So if you want to make sure you get the full picture, just subscribe to our newsletter. Go to newsletter.ntd.com and sign up. It's free.